What is keto? Is it the magic bullet? Is it the answer to all of your dreams? Or is it something you should be careful with? Well, we're going to go through all that, but first, before I even do that, I want to make sure everybody understands that Strong on Health is not endorsing the keto diet unless it is properly done and specific to the individual, which is very important. It can be something that can be wonderful for you, but it can also be something that can be very upsetting and almost dangerous to you if not done right. So we're going to go with three things today. We're going to go over what keto is. We're going to go over what the benefits are to doing it and why it's so popular. And third, we're going to go over what you absolutely need to know before you decide to go into keto. Okay, so what keto is. Keto is short for ketosis. And what that means is your body's actually choosing to use fat. Well, it doesn't choose to use fat so much as you've stopped using sugar as your fuel source. You've actually burned up all of the sugar in your body, and now your body can get into this state where it's burning fat. Sounds awesome, right? Yes, of course. So the benefits are going to be things like weight loss. Obviously, that's a good benefit. You're going to also find that a lot of people get a better mental clarity because fat is an actual great source of energy for the brain. More energy is something a lot of people report when they're doing that because fat is an excellent energy source. A lot of professional athletes actually find that they perform a lot better when they're in a state of ketosis. And finally, now this is an interesting one, we find a lot of people have a lot easier time with their appetite control. So these are fantastic things that everybody's looking for a little help with. So yes, it does make sense to examine whether or not we can get into ketosis. Now, I also want to go over some other amazing things that are working under the surface that are really, really powerful when you actually get to that state of ketosis. And what that is removing these byproducts of sugar metabolism or carbohydrate metabolism. When we are constantly using sugar as a fuel, which most Americans are, let's face it, there are byproducts that are accumulating in the body. Acetaldehyde is one of them. That is something that actually makes people feel a little bit hungover the next day. Ethanol, of course, is something that makes people feel a little drunk. You've got acetate. And most importantly, I think, is this lactate. And lactate builds up in the body localized and causing different problems. And there are theories out there that this actual accumulation of lactate is one of the major contributing causes to all chronic illnesses. Now, that is very interesting to think about. And why is it so powerful to get into ketosis? Is because you're removing that whole conundrum. You're getting rid of all of that messy byproduct of sugar consumption and metabolism. So ketosis can have a lot of benefits. So what do we need to know before we go into this? Obviously, it's really important, and I'm always going to encourage people to find a professional to help guide you through this. Having a really qualified nutritionist to help you understand your specific needs before jumping into that is going to be all the difference in whether or not this is a dangerous thing for you or a helpful thing for you. One thing to be very mindful of is kidney concerns. A lot of people have kidney concerns. Dialysis centers are all across this country. So if you are going to jump right into this and you have any concern of kidney issues, that's going to be something you're absolutely going to want to talk to somebody about before jumping into it. There are also liver gallbladder concerns. Now, this is very crazy to think that so many people are losing their gallbladder every week in this country. There are thousands and thousands of gallbladders being removed, and that gallbladder stores what your body needs to help utilize fats. So if you're increasing the amount of fat intake that you're doing in a ketogenic diet, you're supposed to be getting somewhere around 70% of your caloric intake from fat alone. That can be a real problem if you can't digest it. And we're always talking at Strong on Health about can you digest what you're eating being more important than what actually are you eating? Are you getting those nutrients in there? So if you've had any liver gallbladder concerns, absolutely that's going to be a point where you're going to want to talk to a qualified professional about that. Another thing to think about are these extreme micronutrient deficits that occur. Now, we're always looking at micronutrient deficits at Strong on Health, and we find that those are a major piece of the puzzle for a lot of people's concerns when it comes to their health. And when people switch over to trying to do a keto diet, they can get it confused with an Atkins diet. And so they think, well, I can have bacon, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just fatty meats. But what they're failing to recognize is all of these micronutrients that are doing all kinds of things under the surface, keeping you going, keeping you alive. And if you create a massive deficit in that, you can have all kinds of concerns and problems. There are actually medical conditions that are being told that you should be careful of going into ketosis if you have them. If you've had bariatric surgery, that's something that you should be very careful about. If you have pancreatic insufficiency, that's something you have to be careful about. Okay, so that's a lot of concerns before you jump right into this. So obviously, again, my advice is going to be make sure you speak very thoroughly with a qualified nutritionist so they can help you understand the pros and cons and the pitfalls of getting into keto. And of course, I'm always going to try to help you find what is the next right thing for you to do if you really want to explore this and get to that magic place where you are burning fat, getting that better energy, having better mental focus, and getting your appetite under control. And that would be to prepare yourself. Number one, make sure you're preparing your body before just jumping right into it. And there's a lot of ways to do that. But the easiest and quickest things I want to remind people is it's about those vegetables that are giving you those micronutrients. I'm always going to encourage people to eat more beets and beet greens the week before or 2 weeks before doing it. I'm going to encourage people to eat things like asparagus to help detoxify the kidneys, and also black beans. I always talk about half a cup to a cup of beans being a part of the Blue Zones diet, part of my diet when I'm preparing myself for keto. So those are the things that you're going to want to look at. And then when you get into it, here's a couple of things that I'm always going to be doing when I'm in keto, and that's going to be avocados. I'm going to make sure I'm getting a half of an avocado to a full avocado every day, because that, again, is going to be undoing some of the concerns that people are going to have in the way of fiber and potassium. Those are two major things that people miss out on if they're not doing this correctly. And I'm also going to get some salmon in there on the regular, because that is also going to give you a good healthy source of fat, but also those micronutrients, particularly, again, potassium being a concern for people in that. So there are great ways to do this, and I'm definitely going to be doing it myself. But if you are interested and you really want to do it, make sure that you're examining all of those things that could potentially be dangerous for you before jumping in. And of course, make sure that you find someone who's qualified and knows what they're going to do to help get you there in the best, safest possible way. First, do no harm should always be the rule. And I hope you guys found this helpful, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. If you found this video helpful, like it, share it, and keep following us.